Welcome to the Portraits Whisper, where our guest storytellers are portraits, paintings, and artworks. Here, every canvas breathes and every brushstroke hides a story waiting to be told. Tonight's whisper is from our guest Death and the Miser, emerging from the mind of Hieronymus Bosch in the late 15th century, an oil painting on oak panel. Bosch's right wing whispers alone now, yet within its frame the whole sermon resounds. Greed, folly, and death, all converging on the miser's last breath. I am a fragment. Once I stood not alone but in company. Far to my left, the fool's ship, sails swollen with laughter and sin, and at my heart betwixt us, the great panel of gluttony, now lost to time and neglect. Together we three were a sermon, a triptych of folly, greed, and the soul's unraveling. Now only I remain in full, a right wing without its body, a whisper without its choir. And yet within my pigments the sermon endures. I show you a chamber where death steps across the threshold, where gold glimmers even as the breath of life falters, where demons and angels alike lay claim to a single shriveled soul. Look upon me and know, though my siblings are gone, their voices still echo in mine. The ship still rocks in phantom waters, the feasts still rot upon invisible tables. Here, in my frame, you hear the whole tale. For every miser has dined at that banquet, every miser has sung aboard that ship, and every miser will end here, in this room, clutching at coins that cannot save him. The autumn chill heralds death's arrival, and a room is the destination. For days the presence of the miser has been growing fainter, his earthly tether fraying. Death has watched him, as countless others. This one, however, is a fascinating study in resistance, a reflection of ars morandi. From my high-vaulted doorway, Death stepped into the room, its skeletal form draped in shadow. The arrival is not an ending, but a continuation of the cycle of life and death. A long, pointed arrow is aimed at the old man lying in the rumpled bed. The miser, his skin stretched thin over his bones, lays propped up against his pillows, shivering not from cold, but from the icy certainty of this final visitor. He is in his last moments now, and his eternal fate hangs in the balance. At the foot of the bed, a little demon peeks out from behind the velvet curtains, holding a glimmering sack. It is heavy with gold, the very coins the old man has hoarded in all his life, and the little demon shakes it invitingly. The metallic jingle is a siren song to this miser, a sound he has pursued over all others, and his gaze is fixed on the pouch. He reaches a trembling hand toward the familiar promise of wealth, his knuckles bone white. But on the other side of the bed, a gentle angel kneels, its hand resting on the miser's shoulder. Its other hand is pointed toward a small radiant crucifix hanging in a window behind Death, from which a beam of celestial light shines into this dim room. This is the path of repentance, of salvation, a final chance to turn his back on earthly greed. The miser's beaded necklace, tangled in his fingers, had long ago been abandoned for the more satisfying field of gold coins. On the lower portion of my canvas, in the chaotic foreground of the room, lays the discarded life of the miser. A figure, perhaps the miser himself from an earlier, healthier time, stands over a trunk, greedily depositing coins into a bag held by another rat-like demon. Armor and weapons, once symbols of his prestige, lay cast aside, forgotten and useless in the face of true mortality. A key to the money chest dangles from his belt, a useless accessory now. Death's task is simple: to collect the soul and guide it from this temporal plane. The ultimate judgment is not for death to deliver. Death is merely the silent, impartial observer. As death draws its arrow back, ready to strike, the old man faces a final desperate choice. He glances from the demon's tempting sack to the angel's guiding hand, from the promises of riches to the light of the crucifix. His knuckles flex around the coin bag, his lifelong habit of greed holding him fast. The demon on the bed canopy, a mischievous imp clutching a lantern full of hell's fire, sniggers in anticipation. The miser's soul is a prize to be won, his life a cautionary tale painted in the air around him. The question is not if, but how the miser will greet death. Will he loosen his grip on his worldly treasures and accept redemption? Or will his final act be one of avarice, condemning him to an eternity with the demons he has so eagerly served? Death waits, arrow poised, and the room is silent, save for the subtle jingle of gold. You have been listening to The Portraits Whisper on Storylink Radio, where every canvas has a story to tell. Be sure to subscribe and listen for our next guest, for the gallery never sleeps, and another canvas is already waiting to whisper.